Welcome to the Huddle Within podcast, where we go beyond the surface to uncover the real impact of sports on our lives, whether it's lessons of resilience, the passion that fuels us, or the stories that connect us all. This is where the game gets personal. I am Daniel, a regular sports fan just like you, and together we'll explore what sports truly means beyond the surface. So step right into the huddle and let's get into it. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Huddle Within podcast. Today, I am graced with the presence of Cam Taylor. Cam Taylor is an NFL potential prospect, playing out of Northern Colorado, 2 seasons there, going up to his junior year next season. And we're basically welcoming him to the pod, to the huddle. And Cam, I guess this leaves the floor with you. Welcome to the pod. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited about this. Let's go.
Yeah, no, me too. Well, I got a funny story for everyone. Cam, do you want to explain it, or me, on how we basically met and how we kind of got this going on?
Go ahead. Because I told a couple people how I met you, and they don't believe it. But go ahead and tell them. It was so random.
It's a crazy story. It's so random. So I think it was back maybe it could have been like 7-8 years ago. Now it's been a while.
Yeah. Way long time.
So I just was playing my PlayStation as normal, jumped on Grand Theft Auto 5. It was pretty hype at the time. Crazy how we've had all this journey and GTA 6 still hasn't come out, bro. That's just what I'm thinking in my head.
Exactly, man. The game's taking forever.
I know. But basically, I jumped on GTA 5 and then I heard a bunch of American accents in the live chat. So obviously, for those that don't play Grand Theft Auto 5, you join in an online server. But normally it's with your local people, Australians. But I happen to be in an American server. Came across this guy. He was fascinated by my accent, and we just had a chat from there. And basically, continued to play together for maybe 3-4 months. Connected on Snapchat, Instagram. Kept the friendship going. Found out he was a really good NFL player or football player. And then probably about 4 or 5 years later, we actually met in person in LA when I visited with my friends. And that was the first time we put a face to a name. It's kind of creepy, online friends and that. But no, it was good to meet. It was good to meet you there. We went to Denny's and stuff. That was awesome.
Man, I know that was crazy. I don't think you guys were expecting the big portions of food. I don't think you guys get that out there. I think your friends were a little surprised about that. That's what I liked, though, man. That was good. I know it was a little sketchy at first. My mom was like, "Oh, are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm pretty sure. He's cool. I've known him for a very long time. And you're a good guy, man. That's what I like about you."
I appreciate you. You're a good guy too, and it's just great to see that you're going through this journey as well as a footballer, and that's what we're talking about here today. I'm very keen to kind of discuss your journey through, I guess, your career. So starting with, I guess, your high school career, we can probably make a start on that. Talk to me through it. And I guess the first time you actually decided to really get into football as well, when did you first love it? And then just, take me through that.
Okay, we'll start from the beginning. I started at the age of 8 years old playing football. One day my mom comes in, she goes, because I've always liked football. You know, we're a football family. I've always liked football, watched college football, watched the NFL. And mom comes in one day with papers, and she goes, "Do you want to play football?" So I was like, "Okay, yeah, it doesn't sound like a bad idea. It's a sport. Let's go get out the house and go do something." So played football, and going into football, I wasn't really sure, how I was going to really take it, if I wasn't going to really like it or not. But I know this is something I always wanted to do, even in preschool and kindergarten. It's always what do you want to be when you grow up? And I've always had football. So, I was like, okay, let's go ahead and take a try for this, for the sport. And, gone through some of the practices, getting adapted to it. I remember in my youth days, I wasn't really sure what was going on. Everybody was bigger than me. That was the biggest thing, because I was pretty small, but everybody was bigger than me, but bbage-wise. So everybody's more, just think I was playing with 10-year-olds probably. So, going towards the first game I think I ever get the ball and I score. And I think that's what boosted up the confidence from there, So
yeah, for sure.
I've continued to play football all the way through my youth, and in high school is when it became serious. 8th grade, eighth grade, obviously my last year of youth, I fell in love with it crazy. I built like so many bonds and everything. And that's like another good part that I like about, growing up playing football in the community in my area. You meet a lot of people, and it's it's more things than just football, what I would say. And I built some of the best like friendships I've ever had, like to this day, just off of my youth football teammates. So I would say going into high school, I was a little nervous, because this thing I was like, okay, I'm a freshman, I'm small, everybody else is bigger, and then, like it was a big thing in like California, like high school football, like you got to be ready to play high school football. You're gonna take this serious, and I was like, okay, like this is it right here. Grades are involved. I got to be on top of everything. So get to high school, and man, I have amazing coaches, man. Like I can tell you now, like these are probably the best coaches I've ever had. My high school coaches, because they were really through. They've been through like a lot with me. They've got me as a freshman. Coach told me, look, you can play varsity. We play freshman. So I remember going into high school, I adapted to it quick. I would say freshman, third game I suited up, first home game. Once again, first ever time getting the ball as a high schooler. I score, and that boosts up that boosts up a lot of my confidence, because just the way that I was scoring, the way that I was contributing, and everybody, all the support that I had with everybody, that boosted up a lot of my confidence. And I would say I started getting recognized a little bit after COVID. A little bit after COVID is when a lot of things started to change. I think for you, Daniel, that you started to realize I started getting those college offers around my freshman year too as well.
Yeah,
So
I do remember it was about like 12 offers from memory, from what I
yeah,
saw basically
yeah,
looking in.
man,
So a lot of offers.
starting to get like
Yeah.
recognized, and
Yeah.
that right there, I was like, okay, like this is for real. Like this is something I dreamed of always. I wanted to go play D1 football. Anywhere. Like I wasn't really like concerned on oh what school do you want to go to here and there, but I met this other guy, you know, very good guy, man. Without him, I probably wouldn't even, have all this. But without him and the support, I met this guy, he see me because of just my talent, and it's what really I would say motivated me the most, that, I got this guy to help me push out my film to other colleges and college coaches. All those college coaches, they obviously, the ones that offer me, they seen the talent that I've had. And I think that was the biggest thing in my game, that I was like, these college coaches, they see something in me. That's why they're offering me. So I think that was the biggest part of my game, of why I kept being very consistent, in high school, throughout high school, in the high school journey, but started getting a lot of those offers. And that's when I was narrowing down, probably about sophomore junior year. I think sophomore junior year is when it was really getting real, and I was like, okay, you know what, it's time to go commit to a college. I got to go
Yeah.
commit soon. And then the recruiting journey in high school, I would say it was pretty rough. I would say it was pretty rough. I wanted to pretty much commit to Colorado, and then
Yes.
Deion Sanders obviously came. Pulled everybody Scally, got his own guys, got him in, changed that whole program around, which I'm not mad about. I'm happy about that. And this past recently, I've met this. Before going into college, I got a text message from this other college coach. He's played in the NFL, Michael Smith, and he's texting me and says, obviously he likes my talent and everything. So that's why the reason why I chose Northern Colorado, I would say, is because those coaches. Obviously my coach, he played in the NFL, and I want to play in the NFL. We both play the same position, running back. So that really right there, that motivated me. I can learn a lot off of him. If I go to college and go to college with him. So, man, we made that happen. Committed senior year, and then ran a little bit of track as well. Obviously to get in a little bit better condition.
Yeah.
And then I would say the biggest thing I would say, like right now, let's fast forward to like my freshman year of college. Like that whole transform from like, especially like too, like I'm in California and I go out of state. Like, that's a big
Yeah. It's
commitment,
huge.
obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I've always wanted to go to school out of state. So chose Colorado, just pretty much adapting to everything was probably the toughest part of my time. I would say, obviously, there are some down moments, there are some positive moments, but then again, some of those positive moments are also my very great friends right here, my roommates. That's why I say football is bigger than what it seems like, because you make bonds, you make friendships, you make a lot of connections, and I can call these guys, my brothers, because we came in here at the same time as freshmen, went through everything, so have
Yeah.
each other's back, So I would say transitioning from high school to college is probably the biggest thing for the youth, I would say, because I went through it, and I know a lot of people have went through it. And I would say this for any sport, really. I mean, going to like the next level and playing like, a lot of good competition, it's like you got to get your mental right. How are you going to, you know, if this happens, how are you going to respond? It's like you got to have like a whole bunch of positive aspects on your life for the future. And that's why a lot of people do tell me, when you get in college, don't really think about the NFL. You got to have a backup plan.
For sure.
More so right now, I've been thinking about a backup plan, and I think doing a lot of this college work and being an athlete for the college level, it's very different. And I think that transition from high school to college, it was rough the first year, but I went around that whole first year of college, and now I feel like I've got it down. Now I
That's
can
awesome.
go out there and give a lot of other people, advice on what to do and what not to do. So I think it's been a journey. Still got 3 more years left, so we'll see what happens from here.
Yeah. No, it's awesome to know. I think when you go back all the way to high school, the difference between Australia and probably the US is that a lot of professional athletes, especially in our local sport AFL, don't
Yeah.
really go through the high school level. They actually play in their like clubs or routes, but it seems as though in America, it's a lot through the colleges, which I find pretty awesome, through the high schools.
Hmm.
Reason
Yeah.
being is because it takes into account grades as well. So you have to be a really good student as well as a good athlete, and I think that's some really quality traits that are possessing there. And yeah, I guess through that, like how are you able to kind of maintain good grades, be enough to get kind of recruited through your high school journey, and also like the competition as well, being able to be a full time athlete and trying to balance the two together? Because in Australia, you don't necessarily have to be good at school to get a professional
Hmm.
contract at a sport. You just need to be able to focus on your sport. Here in America, it's very different. You need to really balance the two. So I guess I want to really understand that and kind of give a bit of an outlook for the people watching as well.
Going forward with the grade issue, I've had a little bit of some help with obviously my coaches, getting me back on track with my grades because I think a little bit during COVID I got behind a little bit, so I had to get back up on my feet, to get my grades right, to get eligible and everything, which wasn't a bad thing. I wasn't ineligible ever, in high school,
Yeah,
but it came close and I had to pick it up because I would say I was. Sometimes I caught myself being a last minute guy, turning in things pretty late. But I would say for the best thing is majority of the people they do it with so much ease. Like it's so easy. Like grades and like schoolwork. It's not even really like a thing because if you have a plan for it, like everything should work out perfectly fine.
yeah,
Which is what one thing I've have learned in especially in college. Like now they make you you're forced to do a lot of your schoolwork and you're obviously it's student first. Student first and then be an athlete. So in college is very different. Now in college, I can go ahead and tell people, like you got to be on top of your stuff now because it's school first and then sports, because you're always going to be talented in your sport. That's the problem. So it's really you have to really focus on your grades more than anything, because I think in college, obviously they're looking for that, and it's football and so obviously with other sports it's very different. Like baseball, you can get drafted out of high school and in baseball. I know college you can do one and done, and I think hockey as well. One of those other sports you can skip on that college level, depending on what sport it is. But for football, it should be pretty easy, honestly. How I managed it, I've always had those hard coaches that were on me, so I had no choice. There was no failing, in high school. And it was like if you're failing, then you're behind. But
yeah,
I had expectations for a lot of people, so there was no point in going behind for my grades at all. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
Correct.
just in general, just it's pretty easy if you have a good schedule, though.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong though. I think probably the reason why NFL encourages the athletes to go through all of college is the fact that there's one, so many positions. Two, it's probably the biggest sport in terms of people playing it, in sense of like that road to professionalism. And three, because there are like a lot of positions, as you say, there isn't that guarantee that you can be in the league for a long time. Whereas in
Hmm.
other sports like the NBA, especially the fact that it's also basketball being global, and I can relate to basketball because I support it, despite
Yeah.
maybe not making the NBA, there are opportunities to play overseas. I know NFL has a few leagues overseas, but they're not as obviously prominent as the National Football League. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that's probably the reason why they've probably put you into school and making sure that you guys finish your grades to have that backup plan. And just speaking on that, well, what are you studying at the moment? What is kind of the backup plan at the moment? What's like your passions outside of the NFL and wanting to be there if there was one?
Right now, I'm studying sports exercise science right now,
Yeah,
so that's pretty much going through everything. Being a trainer. It falls into that trainer the coach, and being able to like it falls into a whole bunch of categories for my school. So it's usually just a lot of people and a lot of athletes go through this because they want to become trainers, and they get good opportunities, once they're out of high school to get some training in like some hours and with other coaches, and they get better jobs. There's a lot of trainers that I've gone from just my school in general that's gone to those big schools, Texas, Alabama, Baylor. I've seen a lot of coaches move around, and get better opportunities and better jobs. So yeah, and then following up on what you said about those backup plans that you don't get guaranteed. Some players they don't get drafted. So they have to rely on their degree. But that's a good thing. That's why they play 5 years or 4 years. They get their degree, and then they can go ahead and do whatever they want. But in the NFL, I've heard they've had financial classes. Because dealing with millions of dollars, you don't
Of
want to blow
course.
that, and that's
Yeah.
the big thing. That's what I like about football when you're able to get your degree and everything. You can always have that backup plan, and that's why I like a lot of people that need to start their backup plan a little early. The thing I want to do is I've always wanted to be a business owner. So if I can be a business owner in some sort of sports world, or whether it's in something else, real estate or something. But the goal is for me to have like a lot of money. Like I've always wanted to become like a millionaire. That's why I've always followed up on a lot of like people owning businesses and starting off with small businesses. So I think this past year I've had a lot of like stuff written down on like my backup plans. If anything doesn't turn out right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
I
think
think it's always important.
I think even if you are like if you do make it to the NFL, there's also opportunities for business too, because obviously you want
Mhm.
something to last long as well post your career of retirement. And I do actually, for those that are listening, want to do a podcast post retirement on sports as well. I feel like that hasn't been covered. But again,
Yeah.
yeah, just having that actual backup plan also included into your current plan A as well is probably something that's extremely important. And I want to go back again because there was something that we really love to talk about in the huddle within. It's like those deeper connections and meanings. And you touched on the importance of having coaches that guide you and take you through that whole journey, and also friends and people that you meet along the way. I could safely say that those people are probably the major influence to get to where you are at the moment. And I'm sure that Northern Colorado, the coach there, was probably the key decision maker for you to go there as well. So talk me about, I guess, community, I guess, coaches, and how you feel about that, and how important do you think it is to an athlete like yourself trying to go to the ranks and become, I guess, an elite footballer?
Well, I can start off with say down in my area, Inland Empire. There's a lot of athletes, man, that I've grew up with, and we've played against each other, played with each other, and it's like it's a whole community thing with the football. There's we have a lot of NFL talent. Like for example, we got C.J. Stroud. He comes down and he throws to his receivers and everybody. It's like he gets the community together, just to everybody to put in work. And I think that's when everybody comes together, just doing the same thing. Everybody has the same goals. I mean, I think it's just only right for everybody just to motivate each other and bond, with each other. And I think it's very important for others to get together and just tell each other, motivate each other, to get out and go ahead and put in the work. Even if it's for an hour, 30 minutes, something like work on something. But that I think is a very big thing to being successful, and I think that's why I've had a lot of success and a lot of competition growing up, and that's why I think everybody right now, that's in the IE or in my area, even that's growing up or that's made it to the league, I think they're still going at it and they're still like competing because in California, like this football thing, man, it's crazy. It's a crazy competitive football world, and you're seeing a lot of guys going to colleges and everything, and every time I see that, man, I just get excited, man. I get excited for all my boys, that I grew up and played with, make it to the next level because I know they've had those dreams, and I've seen them grow up and pretty much just train. We've been training with each other, for a very long time, and I think it goes with the same thing as coaches. Once you get to high school, it's like now you have a team, you have a brotherhood. Now your coaches is your leader, and the big thing with college is you get recruited by a single coach, your individual coach, and you make those bonds. And then obviously, I think it's important if you make bonds with all the other coaches, just to get the chemistry with them and the players right. And the coaches they play a big role, in a lot of kids' lives. And I've heard a lot of stories where coaches changing, a lot of people's lives. I've had coaches that, trained NFL players, tell me about their past, and then tell me how it's turned out, after when they've gotten them, right and disciplined and everything. So I think I do a pretty good job on being disciplined and being well coached. I don't really cause problems with any other coaches. But obviously, those people. There's some times where something's not going your way, and obviously you're getting mad. But that's what we got those teammates for, is to pretty much calm you down and motivate you. How to stay like self discipline. I've learned a lot. I'd say I learned a lot from my high school coaches and teammates from like a young age to now, and I think, man, it impacts a lot of kids too, because coaches probably take kids who are in bad neighborhoods,
Hmm,
you know, and they
sure.
probably fall in love with the sport of football, and they could have ended, their life could have turned, something negatively, but it turned out positively because they're in the sport, and they understand it and they understand the brotherhood of everything. So I think football is like. I would also want to say football is probably the greatest thing and the closest thing, that relates to life, because it's like it's a team, and if something's not going your way, you got to ask your teammates, how are we gonna, turn things around and fix it? Are we gonna stay disciplined, or are we just gonna break as a team?
Yeah, I love that because I think I see it in like when I'm watching professional like sports in NFL and NBA. A lot of people are always like congregating together before games. They might be super competitors, but you can tell that they're really close and they're friends off the court as well. It's just great
Mhm.
how you guys are so good at balancing, and I think it's the American sports culture balancing competitiveness with friends as well. So being able to just share a brotherhood, share a friendship, understanding that the journeys that took to get to that professional level, but then also keeping all that energy on the court as well when you guys are competing. I just think you
Mhm.
guys do the perfect job at that, and I do see that, and it kind of, as you said, makes a lot of sense, especially when you're going up together, going through those journeys. You probably see your friend doing really well at a certain college, and then eventually if they get to NFL or you get to NFL, you'll be able to kind of recap that and do it on a professional stage. I think
Yeah.
people overlook that. It's extremely powerful to be able to like share a journey with someone, and then that eventually moves on to, and you're playing in big seat stadiums as well in college. Imagine
Yeah.
like that with your friend and just thinking, oh man, we made it, we're here, we're thousands of people are watching us, we're eventually
Crazy.
sometimes on TV. It's super
Yeah.
powerful, and I really love that you kind of like uncovered that. And also the coaches as well. Like I've watched a lot of Last Chance U documentaries, as I've mentioned as well. They do a really really good job in impacting the community and helping things. And there's no secret that in America, there are some places that are very troubled with crime and the hoods being hard as well. So it's just awesome that there's people out there that are trying to help their communities and also get the best out of the youth. And I think that's through sport is the one way that we kind of can solve that. And it's super
Mhm.
powerful to me. And it's just great to hear it from someone that's probably experienced it firsthand, in a sense that understands how the sport goes, the college journeys, and also everything in high school too. So thanks for sharing that. To be honest,
Yeah.
I really like that insight. And then I think moving to college. So you signed for Northern Colorado. Tell me about your freshman year. As mentioned, you'd had to fly off and move to a whole different state, so away from what you're familiar with. The high altitude. I'd love you to talk about the high altitude rumor there and how difficult it really is, because I hear a lot of things about that. But again, just being able to pack your stuff, move to a completely different state, a new life on college campus, I'm guessing, and yeah, just take me through that whole process.
Yeah, it was, man, it was a journey. It was really sad at first, but I was like, this is something I've always wanted to do. So, we get here, and then I'm like, okay, well, now we're here. And then my mom was probably with me for about 2 more days because she had me moved into my room and everything. So I think once she leaves, we probably have another week left, just to chill and get acclimated, to everything. Now, the altitude thing, I wasn't really sure if that was really true, but, my first workout ever in college, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy. Like, I couldn't breathe. It was like, yeah, like I still feel this every time. Like coming from California, where I'm at like 1,000 feet above sea level, going to like at least 6,000, 4,000. That's a big difference. So I
That
was like,
is.
okay, man, first workout, I'm not gonna lie, I'm throwing up. So I'm like, okay, wow, we're all throwing up, and then they're like, we got some other kids, from out west as well. That's at ocean level, sea level as well, and then they're like, man, like I can't breathe, and it's crazy. But all the people, all the natives, from Colorado, they're trying to tell me, give it 2 weeks and you'll be used to it, and that's a big thing. That's one of the truest things ever. I'm pretty sure I'm like already used to it as well now, but like I don't really tell, like there's no really difference right now that I can tell going back and forth now, because I think I'm pretty much used to it. But I would say going into like the transformation part from high school to college workouts, I don't really have a problem, with lifting weights and conditioning, but those workouts were definitely harder. But, those coaches are pushing you, to get bigger. And obviously in college, everybody else is way bigger, muscle wise and everything. So it's like, got to get up there quick. But I put on the most weight I've ever been up here. I started off over there at 175 coming in,
Yeah,
and then I'm now 210, around 210ish. So
huge.
I've done they've done a pretty good job, and I've done a pretty good job, making sure that my weight's like okay, because that's a big issue in college as well. Our attendance was our weight. To make sure that you're here, you got to weigh in every day. So it's like if your weight isn't on the sheet, then you're in trouble. So it's like
Yeah.
I would say there's a lot of high demands. There's a lot of things that you got to do over here that's different than college, or that's different than high school. Like the meetings, just on top of meetings, like you got to be at least 10 minutes early, at least 5 minutes early. Just to at least get the coaches to know that you're there, because coaches start early too. So it's like it's never really oh, meetings are at 6 o'clock. It's never really starting at 6. It's gonna start at 5:50. It's gonna start at a little bit 10 minutes earlier. So you gotta have a lot of discipline in you. And that's why I think a lot of college coaches, they do look for that. When you're in high school, they do look for, how you're acting. And, they talk to a lot of coaches about you as well. How's his grades? How is he in class? How is he, does he get into trouble? And I think a lot of coaches they do a very great job, of recruiting a lot of people and to build the team right. Because, it's a big risk, it's a big risk, and it can cost, everybody's job. It can cost people scholarships and cost coaches jobs, because a lot of coaches are getting fired every day, no matter what sport it is. And getting back on that, the coaching switches, I would say that's the biggest thing. Coming into college, you get your coach, and then it's like the next year he leaves, and now you got to deal with a different coach. You're not really sure how that other coach is going to be. So that was one thing I've had to deal with. My roommates, they dealt with that too. I think I had one of my roommates, his coaches left first, and obviously it was a shocker. And then my coach left, and I was like, okay. And then so good thing our the new coaches, we've created a bigger, better bond with them. That's why I say it's very important to have a good bond with your coaches. Anybody, just go meet somebody and introduce yourself. And that's why I always say stay humble and stay disciplined, because other people are gonna feed off of that, how your energy is, and they're gonna say, okay, like he's a good kid, he's disciplined, and we don't have to worry about his grades or anything. But so yeah, I would just say the transition, it was difficult at first. And like, even like during football season, like the playbook is the biggest thing where I think kids get it wrong. Like you got to get in your playbook early, because it's so different from high school. We go from basic signals and basic calls, and then in college it gets more complicated and difficult, because we're on national television, and there has been a such thing of other teams stealing signals and knowing their other plays and filming. So it's like there's a lot of hidden stuff that you got to know, and like the ins and outs of whatever your offense is or defense is, whatever you play. So you got to make sure you got that good bond with your coaches as well. So it's a lot, man. It's like you got to do a lot pretty much on your own, but you still got the support and help. So it's like you got to be on top of everything, and on top of that grades as well, because they're on top of that with grades, with anything. Like I said earlier, they're student athlete. It's never athlete student
Yeah.
athlete. So they're going to be hard on your grades regardless. So yeah, the transition was pretty crazy, but I would say for the most part I've gotten used to it now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the playbook is something huge, and I think no one really knows about in NFL. There's so many plays that you have to remember by memory. It's kind of just like practicing for a test or an exam for
Yeah.
college, and doing that on top of actually learning the players as well. And I know coaches keep the players very accountable when it comes to play calling and play memory. So that's something that I think is very difficult to really remember, and it's a bit of a journey. And I guess, yeah, of course, going through it, you adapt to it and everything. And also on top of being away from home, that journey does seem very difficult. And I think people need to know about that, because it's not easy being an athlete or trying to be an athlete, but yet alone incorporating the fact that you're a student too as well. And I guess, yeah, how do you like manage the schoolwork, the training games, and the games as well? And how was the freshman journey in comparison to kind of the sophomore when coming in, and that transition too?
I would say the freshman journey was probably easy. I mean, it was easy, like getting the whole schedule down, because we're in dorms, and they're gonna put you in dorms, obviously, with your teammates. So, with obviously your freshman class that came in. So, like my freshman class that I came in with, we're all still here except for one. One transferred out, but I'm still with the same people I've been in here with since day one. So it's pretty much we're on the same type of, we pretty much have the same schedule. So we wake up at the same time, tell each other, hold each other accountable. Pretty much, we got this, we got that, and then we go to our trainings, and the training comes along with it. Like if you're already in shape, you'll be used to that. You just gotta sacrifice a little because obviously if you're not from Colorado, the altitude's gonna be crazy, and obviously the workouts are gonna be even harder from than what you were doing in high school. So I feel like that journey was pretty. It was pretty easy, I would say just we're all learning at the same time, and pretty much once that 1 year went around, I think we all got it, and I think we all know what we're doing. So I think it wasn't bad. I think it's just once you have a group of guys that you really can bond with and everything will be pretty much fine. We bonded. I say our freshman class bonded a lot, and obviously it was just the fact that it was all of our first years in college. So I think it was really just the first and second semester. First semester was during the season, so it was like, okay, we got a short schedule, we got class, and then we got lift meetings and then practice, and this is going to be for every day. Got an off day, bam, bam, so it's easy. I think it's just you got to have, you're obviously going to create a good bond with your players and teammates. So I think everybody's pretty much on point, and I think you should pretty much get everything down because you got your teammates there to help you out with anything and just ask questions. Like I said, never be afraid to ask questions about anything. And so I think just after that first year, just going through this whole year now, without my coaches, and now we're not in the dorms. I'm in an apartment now. It's a little different, but I would say it's easy now. It's easy getting done with the schoolwork first, and then going ahead and going to workouts, going to training, going to practice meetings, and all that. But I think just after your first year and you get a feel for college, I think it should be cake from there. It's pretty easy, you know.
No, I respect the confidence there. I think talk about your the sophomore season. I think probably easy in terms of adjustments, but a very difficult season from what I saw. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
going 1-11 for the season. But I think from what you mentioned to me before and what we've spoke about in the past, a lot of learnings and stuff. So from I guess in surface level, there is the negatives that we see from the record. Take me through the positives of that and kind of the learnings that you took through that season, because I think that's going to be a big learning going into junior level. And I think from going from a sophomore to junior, that's where the progression kind of hits for most athletes. They obviously grow larger, they have more experience. So tell me through the learnings that you probably took from this season and how you think that will help going into your junior year.
Biggest thing I took from this year would be, obviously if something's not going your way, please just stay calm. That was the biggest thing, everybody just stay calm, just take it week by week, because obviously the biggest thing I was taught in high school, was if you lose, move on. You can't stick with that loss for forever. So that was one thing that I took into college, and it was, we didn't win a lot. We didn't win a lot here. I've only won one game, but from all that losing, getting used to winning and then doing the losing part, which I would say is probably a blessing because now I got the feel of how it is to consistently lose, and how am I gonna deal with those things every day? How am I gonna show up the next day? How am I gonna show up with the same energy? It's like I think you gotta have a positive attitude about everything. Even if something's not going your way. Obviously, it's a team issue. It can't really be your thing. But how I thought is, I gotta come in the facility every day with a positive attitude, even though we're not losing. A lot of people aren't going to tell you that they're not. They're not happy, or you're never going to really know who's who's feeling what, through their emotions. That's why I was like, I think it's the biggest thing. If I come in every day with a smile on my face and don't have an attitude with nobody and just keep everything positive, whether it's around my boys and at the running back group or with the receivers, all linemen and everything. But it's always good to have a good bond with everybody, even though nothing's going your way, because you never know what's going to happen during the game. And obviously we were the one game we won, everybody thought we were going to lose, and I think our team fought very hard, to the end to go get that win, and we celebrated crazy that night, and it was an away game bus trip, so I think that was probably the best time I've ever had with my team, because, and even though it wasn't the whole team, I wish it was the whole team, but the people who went on that trip, it was a blessing for all of us because, a lot of people, they've been through so much in this program, but I think it's the fact that everybody did a pretty good job of coming in the facility with a good mindset and good positive attitude. And during the games, it's difficult too, seeing the other team score, and it's a lot of people are breaking character. And that's the problem when I say with your teammates and coaches, like once you see somebody breaking character, you got to go encourage them and tell them, can't break right now, like at least save it for later, or like don't do it in front of everybody else right here, to break the team up and, cause arguments and everything. So I think my biggest thing and how I learned and controlled myself, I think I just came in there with a positive attitude. And the biggest thing I would say I learned is from all that losing is that's pretty much it. Just come in there with a positive attitude and don't think about it. Just find a way how to get better, and keep looking at film to see what can we fix and what could be better for the next situation. But this football is a team thing, and obviously everybody on every play, they got to do their part and they got to do their job, and you got to know your job. That's how you're gonna win as a team. So I think the biggest thing I learned was pretty much just have a good attitude and move on from those losses and think about how you're gonna make up for that in the near future.
Yeah, for sure. I think, well, I played in a losing season at football soccer, and I can tell you the one of the 3 wins that we had, it was like we won the Super Bowl. So I think as bad as probably a season can be, one win can be so significant that it can feel like a Super Bowl. So that's like a positive that
Yeah.
I personally take from it. I think you probably felt the same. The party would have been insane because I remember when we won, we were going crazy. Like, expect to win. I know it's probably a bad look, but you don't expect to win, and that kind of surprise element and
Mm-hmm.
that satisfaction is just so rewarding as well. From the
Yeah.
hard work that you put into the whole season, and it's a great outlook on it because I always mention this. You have to kind of not fail per se, but kind of go through the hard times in order to eventually get to the good times. And I've mentioned that so many
Right.
times on the pod. And this is going to be another step in your journey to learn from those losses, understand what needs to be better to move on to next season, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And going on about learning and stuff, just kind of going into the theme of more like the resilience and your doubt and confidence and kind of the mental side of being a student athlete. How do you handle like that mental pressure of knowing that what you're doing is essentially chasing your dream to potentially become a professional and NFL player? So how does that kind of feel in your mind, and how do you kind of deal with that?
I honestly, I try not to think about it as much, but I know that like it's coming quick, so I try to just stay as consistent as I can. That's probably the biggest mindset I can give anybody right now is, I'm in the middle of it now. I'm about to be a junior with. We got 3 more years left, and those 3 years in high school went by quick, and now those 3 years in college are it's gonna go by quick, and I think my biggest thing is as long as I stay consistent and as long as I get better at my work. If I can stay consistent and go positive, I'll be fine. I don't want to be consistent and just stay there forever and not get better. I want to always get better at what I do. And that's why I always think when you have your teammates that are really good with and bonding with you, I think you can learn a lot from them. And that's what I mean by staying consistent as in working out, showing up on time to everything, coming in with a positive attitude. And, it's all going to translate to, obviously, if you get the opportunity to get drafted by a team, I think that's what NFL teams like. They don't want to have a knucklehead and have people dealing with, like, a whole bunch of chaos and people who are just being very selfish. That's not what football is all about. So I think just as long as I stay consistent, then, that's pretty much the best mindset I can get until the journey's up.
Yeah, and how did you also, I guess, push yourself through any doubts that you've had throughout this whole journey? Because I'm sure that, like everyone, there'd be some doubts that go in your mind on a regular basis. And how did you find yourself pushing through those doubts and kind of staying disciplined and resilient, as you've mentioned?
I would say, well, first things first. Obviously, I'm gonna talk to my mom about it. I'm gonna talk to myself about it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and talk to my mom about it. And then my mom's probably my biggest supporter, mom and brother. And then so I have obviously them, and then I have my roommates. Obviously my roommates would come back after practice or after everything, and we talk about what happened. And it's a lot of negatives too, like, but it's always like we always encourage everybody, to get better. And obviously, like I've had some doubts during my seasons, because I wasn't really playing much, but you always get those doubts. But the thing is, from what I've learned is, never get those doubts, because if you think that way, then you're going to stay that way. So that's what I'm saying. I got 3 years left, and, I go back and I look at everybody like else's journey. Obviously, that's like through my like running back years, and, the greats, they've had to wait, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to rush anything. Like, I know I'm good enough to play right now, but I wanted to play, but it's like, I couldn't play right now. Obviously, it wasn't my time, and I had to obviously do something better to get the coach's attention, for me to play earlier. But I think, I've gotten those full 2 runs of, obviously I redshirted my freshman year, and then I got this full run. Obviously, I've traveled, so I've seen a lot, and I've learned a lot, obviously, from my running back group in position. Now that I've developed and got to my body, like my body weight and everything, I think I've gained more confidence. But it's really just, the positive notes and the positive feedback I get, obviously with my roommates, teammates, and even my friends. It's just a lot of people. And then obviously you write stuff down, and I think if you write stuff down and be grateful, obviously pray, a lot. I think you'll get through everything. And obviously I've learned the biggest thing: everything is not going to go your way. So I feel like whatever happens, happens. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, obviously, if I want something to go my way and it doesn't go my way, I have to learn to move on from it. I can't be stuck in the past and and think like that. But there's that's why I always say there's so much life ahead of me. That's why I said I never want to really like have doubt in myself or doubt in my talent, because I've done it before, but I think I just have to wait my time. And that's why I said I think these next 3 years, I think I've gone way better, mentally. So I think there's no more doubt. There shouldn't be no more doubt at all.
Yeah, I love it. I love the outlook that you have on life, and I think that's something that I wanted to just transition into as well as the perfect next question that I was going to ask you is, obviously football has been the journey. This is what we want to get to. This is the ultimate goal, and that's awesome. And I really like how you use your family and your friends as like people to help you, and just showing that you can't really do this alone. You need the support and everything. Do you feel like the way your outlook is on life is probably the key success as to what you want to be post football as well? So obviously, yeah, football being the goal, but also like, how does success look to you beyond that? With, I guess, your outlook here, do you think that relates and correlates to success?
Yeah, I think it relates a lot. I mean, I've had, the reason why I had this mindset is because, the coaches, obviously, I've been playing for so many years and I've heard the same things. I've heard, like, we always got to stay disciplined. If we're going to break, how we're going to respond. And I think that translates to life a lot, especially in the real world. Like, if something's not going your way, how are you going to respond? Don't ever doubt yourself, because I just feel like, obviously, if you doubt yourself and you keep having that mindset, that negative mindset, it's always going to stick with you, and that's who you're going to be, and that's what you're going to be. So I always try to stick to what my goals are and what my dreams are. And obviously, I wanted to play D1 football, and I wanted to play, I want to go to the NFL. Obviously, that's still in the process of being made. But the end goal, I said, I want to be able to, you know, to just afford a lot of things, just to have a stable income for later on. Obviously, if I'm gonna have future kids or whatnot, I want to be able to make sure that they're okay. Just thinking really like long term positive like notes and everything. That's why I do a lot of I watch a lot of motivational quotes. I write a lot of motivational like speeches down, and I have my notes. Obviously every morning I thank God obviously for waking me up, and then I go ahead and look at some positive notes. Just trying to jot that down. Obviously for the near future, because I got to look at that somehow. To keep me going. But I just think obviously just oh, and another thing, just connecting with a lot of other people too and hearing their stories. That also motivates me a lot too. I try to compare other people's stories. Just to see. Okay, what are their negatives? What did they do? They tell me their negatives a lot, and how to avoid them. And that's why I like bonding with a lot of people, because other people are interesting. You never know what they're gonna do, and you never know. It's what they got in mind. But until they share those thoughts, it's like, okay, you can put that into your life and then kind of change it up a little bit, not necessarily copy them, but like obviously avoid mistakes that they did, or even like go through the stuff that they did to like succeed, and obviously try those out and see if it'll help you or not. So yeah, I just think it's a lot of positive things right now.
Yeah, no, I love it. This is really powerful. All
Yeah.
these messages and everything that you're talking about. It really just shows, like, I think sport really just, it defines that. It really shows like who people really are as people, beyond obviously the sport itself. And that's kind of what I love to talk about as well. So knowing your journey, knowing like the people around you, knowing the outlook that you have on life, I think all these are fundamentals when it comes to being successful in life as well. And it's great how we can put that into sport as well, and actually transition that into stuff that we love as well. And I think sport does a really, really good job in kind of balancing those life experiences as well. Because let's be honest, if you were not in the sport as well, there might be aspects and things to kind of want to have a good life or want to be successful. But the fact that you're doing it because of something that you love. There's competitive nature, there's community, there's people, there's coaches, there's influencers, everything. It really helps shape your life post the sport, and it goes beyond the game. It really does.
Yeah.
And you really define that to me. And okay, like, can you have any more emphasis or any more willing on that, and how, like, it is more than a game. Like, it is more than just making the NFL. It really just impacts your life more to what you've already said. Like, with a lot of stuff that you've mentioned, just creating extra emphasis is probably what I'm asking for as well.
Uh, a lot of
I've put you on the spot there, big time.
yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I would say, you know what? Hold on, let me go back. Like a lot of things, I would say another thing that it's more like that. I would say it's more bigger than sports. Like you do a lot of community service for like the youth. You know, the youth
Yeah.
is the biggest thing. The youth is okay. The youth is the biggest thing I think that's an athlete can do, because they're obviously looking up to you. They want to play sports as well, and I think if you go out and give them the time to share, whether it's, I've done a lot of like youth community things, there's football camps, there's, we had one here up in Northern Colorado. We had one that was like the special needs camp. And then, those ones, I just love seeing a lot of like, kids going outside and just playing with sports and everything, that's bigger than what it's supposed to be, because, a lot of kids, some of them, they don't want to go outside, but it's the fact that, they look up to you as a football player, and that, that touches my heart, because it's like, they're the future, and obviously, so we got to give them, obviously, all the positive, notes that we can give them now, and make sure they can have their childhood and all this fun, because, after high school, that's when life gets real. So, I think they got to have all their fun now, give them all these positive notes, tell them to play sports early. And I think for everybody, I think they should play, multiple sports, and fill out what sport you should, obviously play, and what can connect you the most, and what you love. And I just think, just those little charity events, those little small youth events, I think those really do touch the kids and parents' hearts, because their kids are out there having fun, doing what they want to do. And obviously, if it's professionals, they definitely want to go out there and meet, obviously whoever they're looking up to, and then obviously get trained by them, at these little youth football camps. And, that's why I think the youth is probably the biggest part. And I think in the football community as well, because obviously we do a lot for them. They do a lot for us. They show us a lot of support. So I would just say that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, talking about community, I'm going to reverse the role here. Obviously, you've been one to give back to your community, especially in Northern Colorado. Have you ever been on the receiving end of that with any specific NFL players? Obviously, you've spoken about coaches, but any current NFL players, that you've linked up with, or they've probably motivated you through potential camps or little community things that you've entered, if you have?
I would say probably back then. I mean, usually when I'd say the same thing. When I was going to those camps as well. Some of those football players would be there, and obviously there's these football fields, near my house, and during the off season, like some of the NFL players, that are from that area, they'll come down there, and they'll help, obviously the young guys, the high school and the college coaches out. I mean, not college, the college players out. So I think obviously when they come down, like I don't really go often, but when they come down and they drop knowledge, I think that's probably the best thing I can receive from them. But not often. I don't really like do the group training stuff. I usually probably just stay off to myself and do the training, because when I'm in college, so it's like I kind of have my own little routine going.
Yeah, makes sense. Oh, we're going to move on to a bit more kind of just be a fun, quick rapid fire questions. I'll try to keep these rapid fire. Every time I say they're rapid fire questions, the answers end up being quick, longer than the actual ones, but we'll get through it anyway. The first one being, obviously being an athlete, obviously you need to follow diets, hit certain weights, but then there is probably some time for some certain luxury. So when you do have that luxury, what would be your favorite cheat meal?
Oh man, favorite meal. Ooh, In-N-Out.
In-N-Out, yeah.
In-N-Out. I know. Yeah. Have you had In-N-Out? Did you have In-N-Out when you came out here?
Yeah, I had it. The first time I didn't like it, but I managed to stay back an extra day because my flight got cancelled. And next to LAX, there was In-N-Out, and I had it for the second time. Unbelievable. Oh, yeah. And the hype here is crazy. Like, they sometimes have like very rare pop-up one-day shops for In-N-Out, and it literally gets full to the brim. But In-N-Out is good. Not a big fan of the chips though, but the burgers are pretty good, and I know that they got the secret menu. But what's your In-N-Out order if you were to get one?
Oh, I go, okay, look, this is crazy. Well, some people's orders are worse than mine. I'll go double, and then we'll go no onion, and then we'll go 2 animal style fries. No onions.
No onion.
No onions.
No, you don't like onions.
I mean, like In and Out, like the onions, like they make the
They're
burger like,
circles. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's so weird. So I was like, nah. But we'll do 2 animal style fries. Did you have the animal style fries?
I did have the animal style fries.
Those are
They
good.
are
Those are
very
good.
nice. Yeah. But
I
I'd
have two
still
of
like
those.
two.
Go ahead.
You said two?
Yeah, I have two of those, and then I'll probably either top it off with a shake or lemonade. Shake or
Lemonade.
lemonade.
Yeah, lemonade. Is it like what they have got Sprite there? Because we normally just say it by brand.
Yeah, that'll go Sprite. It's
Yeah.
called, yeah, they use 7 Up. I don't know
Seven Up.
why.
Yeah.
Sprite 7 Up. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. I think Sprite 7 Up and Sierra Mist are all like the same thing. It's like,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know.
true. Yeah, it's probably the contracts because we in KFC we got Seven Up, but McDonald's we've got or Macca's we say we've got Sprite. So yeah, I mean lemonade is lemonade. And yeah, again, and what about your dream stadium to play in? If you haven't played in already, I know you've played in some really big stadiums. Yeah.
Dream Stadium. Man, there's some pretty good stadiums out here now. Like just internationally or just like NFL wise.
Let's go both.
Okay, NFL wise, I'm gonna go with NFL wise. Man, there's a lot of good stadiums. Probably. Oh, probably the Georgia Dome. I think
Georgia,
I
the
bet
Mercedes
Georgia
Benz
Dome.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mercedes-Benz, yeah.
yeah, that's elite.
Yeah.
Nice. And then the craziest moment you've experienced on or off the field.
Crazy experience on the field. Man, I don't really have anything. Hold on, crazy. Okay, well, I can go back to high school.
Yeah, do it.
This is freshman year, 150. I'm 150 pounds and everything. I get the ball, I get a screen, and I think this was the hardest hit. It wasn't even a hit. Like I literally got full force, like picked up, tackled, and like suplexed. And I remember the crowd was like, "Ooh!" Like I was like, "Damn!" I was embarrassed, but I put it on my film. It's on my film, but I cut it out early because like it, man, the body slam it was crazy. It was like UFC, like in full force round, and it just slammed me, and I was like, man, like. I need to get bigger. Like this is crazy. Like I need to gain some weight because no way I was getting picked up that quick. That
Yeah.
like I don't know. It was weird. I had no choice.
Yeah, no one's picking you up after that. I'm guessing that would have been the key turning point into 210 right now, right?
Yeah, man. I was like, I gotta get bigger, man. There's no way I can stay this skinny.
I'd love to get that clip as well. Maybe I'll put it on a reel if you let me. Kidding.
I
And
try
then,
to find. I definitely gotta find that again. You know, I
yeah,
was looking for it the other day. You know, because I had to send it to somebody, but I gotta find that again.
yeah, no,
Definitely.
that sounds good. And then one coach that everyone needs to know about, and be clear here, we are from Australia, so I guess giving us a bit of an insight to this certain coach and their career and their journey as quick as you possibly can. And yeah, why that'd be the case?
Wait, repeat that again. I'm sorry.
The coach. So you're a one coach that everyone needs to know about.
Oh, one coach. Everybody. Man, I'd probably say my high school coach, man, Coach Cetos. That's the guy right there. Okay, look, let me tell you, this is the guy right here that's probably like he motivated like a lot of people. I don't know if he's motivated a lot of people and like including me. Like the biggest thing is like what he's taught and I brought in was obviously the discipline. How are we gonna stay disciplined? Like he man, he went by that like a lot, and it was crazy because I remember like there was probably a year where our team was falling off apart, and there's been some games where we did battle back, but he praises a lot of being disciplined and how we're going to play as a team and how are we still going to think positively, and I think he reflects more he's a football coach who reflects more on life as well because he's brought up his past and obviously on where his negatives were and everything. So I've took that in. Obviously, I've took that in to my head, and obviously I was like, okay, well he went wrong in his mistakes. How can I avoid that? But obviously I brung that. He's a very well coached guy who's pretty much like he's a coach where he gets you fired up and motivated. That's one thing I liked. He's a coach that brings that energy. We're in the locker room turning up. He's in there turning up too. I got videos of Coach turning up, man. But yeah, shout out to Coach Hitos and all those other coaches. They do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I still visit those coaches.
Shout out to them. Hopefully, they get a chance to listen to this and hear some
guys,
new, different Australian accent as well. So they might be a bit stunned by this, but yeah. Shout out to Coach, as they say in the States. But I guess now moving off from the rapid fire questions, I just want to talk because we're big NBA fans. Obviously, you go for the Suns. I'm a Wizards. We're both not in the playoffs, so we can't really talk about how our teams are going. But since the season just finished today, as we're recording, the NBA season just concluded today. Who you got for the championship? And in how many
I'm
games?
I'm gonna go with the Lakers from now on. I'm gonna go with the Lakers from here. I'm gonna go with the
Damn,
Lakers.
you Lakers? Lakers in
I'm gonna
what?
go with the Lakers. Lakers in 5. Stop. You
Lakers?
hear him all
No,
the time.
you're not doing no Shannon Sharp on
You
this
hear him,
podcast.
yeah,
No
nah,
way.
you hear him all the time. Lakers in 5. I can't root for the Clippers. It's the Lakers. They got LeBron. Like I can't. Come on. It's
They got
LeBron.
Luca, man. That trade
Luka
though.
and LeBron. Yeah, no,
Oh,
that was crazy. That was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
That
No, I
was
think
crazy.
the Lakers are a good shout, especially with the coaching. Luca obviously being there, LeBron James legacy. Look, if I
Yeah.
don't do GOAT debates, but if LeBron does win it, I'm gonna have to start saying that LeBron is the GOAT over Jordan. You probably think he is already, but I'm
He
very
is
much still.
already.
I'm still on the Jordan train slightly, but it is getting close. After 50K
Yeah.
points, I'm thinking, man, it's time. But to be honest, I got the Celtics going back to back. I do want OKC to win it all. I much
No way.
prefer that, but I got the Celtics going back to back. I think they're
So
too
you,
deep.
you didn't even bring up the Cavs. You didn't even
The
bring up
cat.
the first team.
Look, am I going to go too controversial? The Cavs. It's hard because I think the Cavs at the moment they're still probably another year away. The fact that they're the first seed brings a lot of pressure. There are a lot
Yeah.
of teams that are in the East that are very competitive at the moment, and then getting to the finals, if they were to get there, I think the West is too powerful for them as well. I could be wrong. I hope. I'd love to see in a perfect world a Cavs OKC final. I
Yeah.
think that would be super fun. But again, you've got those powerful franchises like the Celtics that have won it, and they're coming back with a chip on their shoulder too, especially with what happened with Jason Tatum at the Olympics, Jaylen Brown not making their
Yeah.
USA team, and all that scandal. So they're coming back with some fire. They're not here to muck around, I think. So I think the Celtics, with their experience last year and the fact that this is probably their last year with being able to have all the contracts. So I do think the Celtics will have it. But again, we'll have to wait and see. I'm super keen for the playoffs, I have to say, even if my team's
Man,
not there.
I'm excited as well too. You know, one thing I can say, I don't really like the Celtics, and I think one thing I can say is like the teams on the East. I don't know. Like I really don't know. I got a buddy. He's a Knicks fan, and I'm trying to tell him. I'm like, look, man. I think the Pistons are very good. Okay,
They are.
last year they lost. They lost to the to Indiana, and I was like, okay, that was shocking. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't think Indiana was good,
Yeah.
and you know, obviously I'm a root for my team, but one thing I can say, and I don't want to talk about it, we have Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker still didn't make the playoffs. I don't know how that happened.
Well, we gave you Bradley Beal for some excellent pick swaps. We're getting the 2026, the 2028, and 2030. I'm pretty sure. So if Kevin Durant gets traded, and then obviously Beal's contract runs out, what's going to happen with the Suns? He's going to probably be worse than us, and then we'll be having your picks. So I think you guys are in big trouble, I have to say. And for the Wizards, if we don't get Cooper Flag this year, we just won today, which just dropped our odds by 1%. Utah now have
Yeah,
the
you know
worst
what?
team.
I don't think so. I was going to say, I think Utah. I think I've said this. I said I think Utah, if they win it, I think they got a. I think he's a better fit, you know, in Utah.
Yeah,
I think he's a very good fit in Utah. I'm
I
not
don't
really
want him
sure
there.
who else is down there. I think Toronto might be able to sneak in there, and who else is a who else is
Down there, I
horrible?
think Charlotte's down there, Philly's down
Charlotte.
there, New Orleans is down there.
Yeah.
They're all the teams that are down there at the moment. But like, if the Wizards do not get Flag, I'm going to be furious because the Utah Jazz, I said it on the last episode with Greg when I interviewed him, that the Jazz was purposely tanking to get him. And I was very frustrated because they shut down all their young players. We were already bad as it is. We started to tank, but then we ended up winning on the final day with a Bub Carrington game winner. And now we've just dropped our odds. Well, we're definitely locked in for a top 6. So even if we don't get Cooper Flag, at least we can get maybe Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper, but I'm all in for Flag,
Ace.
man. But I think it's looking Utah as well, and if it doesn't, I'm gonna be so dirty.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see.
You know what? It's so weird too because you know what? It's so crazy with like the lottery. It's so different. I know like the NFL, you have your
You're
set
locked
picks. And
in.
you don't gotta
Yeah.
go off with that. Because I was so surprised on last year how the Hawks got the first pick. You know,
Yeah.
obviously I would have thought they would have did a little better. You know, being on the East Coast with that
Yeah.
first pick. And I thought it was going to you guys as well.
Yeah.
But you guys still did get the guy I think you guys were projected to get. I wasn't really sure who was
we
better.
were. Yeah, we got Alex Side. I think that's who he wanted, and he was a number 1 pick. It's between him and Ricochet for that number 1 pick. And I'm pretty sure the reason why we did get Saar is because I think he made it known to Atlanta that he didn't want to go there either. I think in his workout, he was very set in on Washington getting the minutes. So for me, I feel like we actually did get a number 1 pick. Ricochet is very good, and he's had a really good year. Very good on the offensive end and pretty decent defensively. But I'm happy with Saar, and I'm really excited for that pick. And hopefully, if we pair him up with Cooper Flag, we have 2 7-foot beasts. And speaking of NFL and the NFL draft, that's also coming up. So I've got Cam Ward at number 1, but I don't know what's going to happen. I'm pretty sure what I'm seeing is Travis Hunter might be going to the Browns as well.
I really thought he would have went to the Giants, considering they picked up 2 quarterbacks. But I'm really keen for that draft as well. So talk to me about who you think goes number 1. Who do you think will be better out of Shador Sanders or Cam Ward as well?
I think I'm gonna go with Cam Ward. I'm gonna go to Cam Ward easily.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to Cam Ward going 1, and then we got the Browns going number 2. So I think they can go ahead. Look, they can go both. They can either pick up Travis or they can go Abdul Carter. But I hope they get I really do hope they get Abdul Carter, and I think the Giants. I want the Giants to take Shador, because I'm a Patriots fan. Because I need Travis Hunter. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I need Travis Hunter at pick 4. So that'll be great. That'll be very great. The Patriots. It's been kind of rough. It's been kind of rough for the past little seasons, but it's all right because we got a quarterback, and I think we're going to do this great. I think it's a flip flop. I think the Suns are getting ready to go down a little bit. I think the Patriots are getting ready to go win the Super Bowl right now.
Well, if you can see the banner from behind, that's the team I go for, and they're no good. They remind me of we got in AFL the St Kilda Saints. They're pretty much the same team. They're both mediocre, terrible, but to be fair, St Kilda is doing well. And last sport, AFL. So tell me about, me, I've obviously influenced you to go for Collingwood, and you watched the grand final. Tell me about your first thoughts on AFL and the sport and everything.
Man, the biggest thing I've seen was a stadium. The atmosphere, I think it's so crazy because I do see it from soccer. Me and my roommate, we're big. We in the dorms especially. We're big soccer fans when it comes down to the stadium and atmosphere, and even the players and how young they are. But I think with the AFL, I'm still following them too, and I see them training and how it's very different. And I've even had a thought. I was like, I think I can play it. I think I can play this because it's kind of similar to rugby.
Yeah.
But man, when I'm watching those highlights, the crowd is just something crazy. It's it's loud and it's a big old bowl. They got their stadium's like a bowl, yeah, and it's crazy. And I'm like, man, they got this is their football. And, this is. I think it does get louder than some of the stadiums out here because those international fans. That's why I say a lot of international fans. They have the stadium atmosphere. It's just crazy, and the way that when I'm seeing Collingwood play. Man, they're just moving. I don't know. I don't really know the rules and everything. But when I'm seeing them just moving, kicking the ball, passing it, I'm like, man, that motivates me. I gotta go out there and go see a game, dude. Because just the atmosphere in general. I like when the crowd is loud, and I think just in general. Now I know how Australia gets. That's the city right there getting loud. Obviously, Collingwood is probably what, the Patriots. The Patriots?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, winning. Yeah,
back then, winning?
Yeah, that's it. And we're still winning too. You saw the grand final too. I remember we were talking together. That would have been epic for you. It was a 4-point game. I was there, and probably one of the best experiences of my life. But I remember you showing me that you on you sent me a message of you watching it because it was on TV there. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
But 100,000 we get there, and if NFL doesn't work out, man, we'll find a career for you in AFL. I'm sure you can make it work. You'd be the first African American ever to play, I'm pretty sure. We do have an American that plays, but of African American stature, if you guys were playing AFL, I always say this, if America decided that they wanted to play AFL, you guys would kill us. I have to be honest. With the athletic prowess, but being able to understand the skills. If you guys got the skills down pat, I think your athletic abilities would just kill us. So have a think about it as a
that'd be crazy, because it's football without pads, though. That's another thing, I'm so used to playing with pads. I don't know how those guys can take those hits without pads and everything, but I feel like as long as you got the speed and the knowledge, to avoid those hits, I think you should be fine, Those guys, that's another level of just toughness right there.
I have to give credit to them. They're very extremely athletic, and it's well known for playing without pads here. But think about it, if you play without pads, you'd probably run a lot quicker than you already do. So no one gonna catch Cam on the run.
Exactly.
I don't think. No, I got to say as well. Well, I did want to tell you as well that next year the Rams are actually coming to Australia. We're going to be hosting our first ever NFL game. So that's going to be at the same stadium that the grand final of the AFL was on, that 100,000 seat. So you're really going to see, hopefully, Australia turn up for that, and I'm definitely gonna be there as well.
Hopefully,
You got to come through too, because what you said, if you want to watch a game, the season started right now, so it's actually your off season. So it's the perfect time for you to come in.
Really?
Maybe do a preseason as well. So think about it.
Yeah, I definitely got to do that. And I got to hit the soccer games out there too. Well, I'm not really sure how you guys' soccer culture is out there, but I know you've been out to you've been out to Spain and those games.
Yeah,
I know you've been
crazy.
over there. That's where I want to go.
Europe is different, I have to say.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess once we wrap this up, I guess what's next for yourself? Now moving on as a junior, and what happens to Cam?
Right now we're currently looking for another home to play football at. So we're gonna pretty much see what happens in probably in the next month or two. So figure things out right now, but we're in the middle of probably getting everything packed up, ready to go.
Awesome. We're going to be looking out for your journey as well. I'm going to drop some film on this podcast description as well, so everyone can have a look at how athletic you are. I got to say, guys, it's real. He's rapid. I have to say, I've seen it. I wish I saw it live. We didn't have the chance to actually see you on the track when I came down there, but hopefully when I come again, we can link up, and hopefully it's watching you in a big stadium, whether it's in NFL, whether it's in college, man. So we'll definitely link up in the future. But it's been such a great episode. Honestly, I really appreciate you coming on here. It's been a long time coming. We've been planning this for a few weeks now, and we finally managed to find the right day. Yeah. Finally. But yeah, man, it's been awesome, and it's been a pleasure actually being across your journey since we were first kids playing GTA, and now still keeping that like connection till now. It's just awesome. Yeah. And I really wish you the best, man. I really hope you can achieve your dreams, get to the NFL, and I'll be your number one fan wherever you go. I'm going to be repping your jerseys, everything. And you got to send me down some college stuff in the future when you when you come through.
I have a lot here.
I've got to give you one of these as well. I got hoodies and stuff down here, so
we gotta make that work. We gotta make that work quick. You know what? I do definitely got to plan a trip to go out there because I have been planning on to go somewhere out of the country. Yeah, because I did get my passport.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah. For sure. We'll make it work, bro. Whenever you can, whenever you're ready, always welcome, man. We're always happy to take you here.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's serve. But anyway, it's you've been on here. It's been Cam Taylor. Thank you so much for joining the huddle today and having the chance to speak about your journey and stuff. And thank you to everyone for listening. I'll catch you guys next week, and take care. So that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Huddle Within podcast. I appreciate you for tuning in and being part of this community where we go beyond the game and into what really matters. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who sees sports just the way that we do. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on my social medias, which will be linked below. Send in your thoughts and even be part of a future episode. Until next time, keep that passion alive, stay in the huddle, and remember, it's always deeper than the game. Cheers.